Okay, so I know I say this every time, but this is really important, this particular presentation. It is the fundamental of teams and team spirit. And actually, the concept is taken from a book called The Five Dysfunctions of a Team by a guy called Patrick Lencioni. And I would recommend it as a read. It's a story about a leadership team that was struggling, and a new CEO comes in and basically changes the way they operate. And she uh, describes how these dysfunctions are being shown in the team and what she did to improve them. So I want to share that sort of learning with you, and I'm sure you'll get a lot from this particular presentation. So, understanding how teams work, I think from the very outset, the very first presentation that I put on this jigsaw box was culture comes before performance, not the other way around. So you don't get high performance and tag culture on at the end. You need to get the culture right, and because that will steer you through the good times and the bad times. Now, obviously, as I've said in earlier presentations, culture can live or grow, live and grow. It can shrivel and die, and it's your job as a leader to guard it at all times. The same is true of that team and team spirit, that living organism in front of you. So we need to get that bit right, and you need to build trust within your team. And I want you to reflect back and think about teams that you've worked in where you've had that sense of trust between each other, and you can have those honest conversations. But also, I'm sure you've worked in teams where there is a level of distrust and there's a lack of transparency, a lack of honesty in the conversations, and a lot of conversations going on in the corridor rather than in the meeting rooms. And as a leader, it's your job to build the trust, and you can only build the trust if you have integrity. So you've got to do what you say you're going to do. Again, we go back to a presentation we gave on building your credibility. Do what you say you are going to do. And if you keep doing that and you are strong with your values and you are open and honest, then people will follow you because of your integrity. So the five dysfunctions of a team. So this is what poorly led teams would look like and feel like and have poor team spirit. And then the next slide is the other way around. So what a really strong team would look like. So have a think about where your team sits. So the first dysfunction of a high-performing team is the absence of trust from leadership, senior leadership, to the employees, from employee to employee. Wherever you look, there's an absence of trust, and people just don't trust each other to be open and honest with each other. So the layer above that, if you have no trust, is a fear of conflict. So people don't say what they think, and they will often not say anything at all for fear of losing the job or being ridiculed or not being heard. So as a consequence, any disagreements or any areas of improvement get brushed under the carpet because of the fear of conflict. So then if you don't feel trusted, you're in a culture of fear, then ultimately you lack commitment. You'll do your job, but you won't add anything above that. You'll just want to get through the day, get your paycheck, and get out of there. And that's not going the extra mile for the team, and it's certainly not going to get the best out of the team. Because then you just say, well, it's not my job to get this bit right. My little section of this team is working well. And we avoid accountability. And when we avoid accountability, we get inattention to results. So if you think back to the teams you've worked in, it's such a moving, complex organism to try and get right. But the examples where these five dysfunctions are in place mean that often teams like this will carry on functioning, but they will never be high performing. So if you flip that on its head, how can we look at that in a more positive context and something for you to strive towards as a leader? So you need to build trust. If you have trust, then you can have constructive conflict. So you can sit in a meeting room and agree to disagree and then move on and put the good of the team at the forefront of the decision. So there's nothing wrong. No one's saying that all teams are happy clappy. They're not. But you need to have a level of trust and an ability to say what you think without fear of ridicule. Once you get that, then you get commitment. People feel bound to the team, they feel responsible to the team, they feel accountable to the team. And as it says here, accountability becomes the next function of a high-performing team. People are accountable not just to themselves, but to each other and to the wider organisation. And that accountability is the true test of a high-performing team, because then we get results. And we get them consistently. And one of the big goals for any organisation is to not just win in the short term, but win in the medium term and the long term. And by medium and long term, I mean 1, 2, 5, 10 years time, not 1, 2, 5, 6 weeks time, 10 weeks time. So we're talking about trying to build a team for the long term, and these are the 5 functions that you should be striving to achieve. And ultimately, if I was going to break it down into a smaller pyramid or a triangle, you need great character and characters, and you need great leadership. You need competence, so people are very good at the job, and you need connection. And you need to grow the connection between the people. I think I gave a presentation right at the start about that invisible thread that exists between me and you, and the thicker the thread is between us, the stronger our relationship. And we can only grow that by connecting and extending that connection to people. So hopefully the stuff we've done right at the start of the modules, way back, is beginning to see the relevance all the way through. So that's a huge topic covered in 10 minutes, but hopefully you get the gist and you get something out of it.